behind closed doors. I'm a fool for your love.
Everyone, my name is Anthony and welcome back to the Anthony James Show here on Sports Fan Entertainment. The Super Bowl is now done, and I was trying to think of a video for this week. I thought, what a better time than now to talk about the Super Bowl next year and what the current odds are. I personally don't look at odds a lot, but I thought it'd be fun. With a year to go before the next Super Bowl, which is in Minnesota, I thought it'd be fun to at least look at this, see which ones I think are surprisingly high and which ones are low, and that if I was a betting man, I'd probably try taking. Now, I have these off CBSSports.com. I will I'll see, maybe he'll put the link in the description or not, but if you want to check it out, that's where I got these odds from, and I know various websites probably have different odds, but whatever, these are the ones I'm going to go with these videos. The best odds, 5-1, the Patriots, which I think is rightfully so, not just because they won the Super Bowl, but frankly, you look at the 32 teams, which of these 32 teams can you put a lock on that make the playoffs? It's the Patriots. I think the other 31 teams, there's no lock. Frankly, if Tom Brady starts playing poorly, they can put in Jimmy Garoppolo or Jacoby Brissett, and I don't think that'll happen. But regardless, even if they have a quarterback situation like the Broncos did when they won their Super Bowl, I still have a hard time not seeing the Patriots in the playoffs. Like, it just wouldn't make sense. So, with that in mind, I think the Patriots rightfully deserve the 5-1 odds and the best odds in the NFL. Now, the next odds are 8-1 for the Cowboys, which I'm kind of borderline on. I'm worried about Dak Prescott, and without getting into full video about it, I just want to say this, I'm worried about a sophomore slump, that what we saw from him year one, he doesn't improve much to year two. That's a big worry for me, or he even does worse in year two. I think that's a great possibility. 8-1 odds, I definitely wouldn't be taking those. I think those are way too high of odds. And trust me, I was somebody who coming into this season was high on the Cowboys. I said they'd win the division even after the Tony Romo injury. But for me, man, that's putting a lot of faith in Dak Prescott doing it again next year, and they didn't even win a playoff game this year. So let's kind of hold our horses on them. The Steelers are 10-1, I guess, but this team hasn't been to the Super Bowl since 2010, and just like them, the next team, 12-1, are the Packers. They also haven't been to the Super Bowl since 2010. But if I had to choose between these two, I'd probably go with the Packers, a little bit worse off, but frankly, at the end of the day, Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, and as much as I hate the Packers, I think if I had to choose between the Steelers and Packers, I feel like the Packers have a better chance because their organization hasn't been in chaos, it seems like, compared to the Steelers. We hear Ben Roethlisberger potentially retiring, although I don't think it'll happen now. But we hear that. We hear the team's not happy with Antonio Brown. Then you have Le'Veon Bell, who's either suspended or injured. There's just a lot of question marks there, and if I had to choose between the two, I'd go with the Packers. The Seahawks, 12-1. I'm kind of worried about them. I mean, they're a consistent playoff team, but I'm still, I don't know. I don't know when it comes to the Seahawks. I think they're a playoff team, and outside of that, I don't know if they'll make much noise in the playoffs. Oh, now here's one where I'm just totally against it. I know people not agree with me, but whatever. The Falcons at 12-1. I will not take those odds. We're talking about a team losing not just their offensive, but their defensive coordinator now. Not good. Not good. And to me, this offense isn't going to be as good as it was this year. I'm sorry. Look at the Broncos. Let's talk about the Broncos for a second. It wasn't too long ago when they posted the best offense of all time. Now look at the Broncos. One of the worst offensive lines in football, and frankly, one of the worst offenses in football. I'm not saying that's going to be the Falcons next year, but let's be honest. We're talking about a Falcons team who had such a great offense last year. I don't think they'll be able to repeat that in 2017. And as I look at the Falcons 12-1, no, I won't be taking those odds. Panthers 20-1. I don't like those odds either. I really don't. Cam Newton, I think the Panthers will be much better next year. I think we could potentially be talking about them as a playoff team. But Super Bowl, I'm not sure about that. I mean, we're talking about right now. This is a team that if they have a really good offseason, we could be talking a lot differently. That means bringing in a number one cornerback, whether it's the draft or free agency, bringing in a number one cornerback. If we do that, we'd be talking about it a lot differently when we say the Panthers for Super Bowl. I just, for now, right now, I just can't see it even at 20-1. Then we have a little AFC West. We have Broncos at 16-1, Chiefs at 18-1, and 20-1 for the Raiders, which is really surprising because I probably would switch that order. I'd probably have the Raiders at 16, the Chiefs stay at 18, Broncos at 20. I was high on the Broncos coming into the season. I thought they'd win their division and maybe win a playoff game. They didn't do that. Oh well. But of the three, the only thing you can really say is consistency. The Broncos have been consistent going to the playoffs, minus this year. Of the last four Super Bowls, they were in two of them, and they won a Super Bowl. But for me, I just don't see it. I think Vance Joseph comes in, his first year as a head coach. You have a brand new defensive and special teams coordinator. There's just a lot of new on this team. I'm kind of worried. Not so certain with the quarterback position. Offensive line's kind of in question, too. Chiefs, unless we're talking about like a Tony Romo trade, I just can't see it with Alex Smith. To me, this might be one of my favorite odds, 20-1 for the Raiders. I'm very tempted with that. As long as Derek Carr doesn't get injured, this team, we're at least talking about playoffs, and if the Patriots start to slip up, this could be that next team. This could be that team that replaces the Patriots. Man, I'm high on the Raiders at 20-1. Giants, I'm also high on them at 20-1. I think they could be good this year. I think the Cowboys will be slipping up this year. I don't think they'll be as good as they are. I don't think the Eagles are ready. I think the Kirk Cousins-led Redskins, they kind of remind me of other teams like the Packers or the Saints, where it's a good quarterback, but outside of that, there's a lot of question marks. Only difference is Kirk Cousins isn't as good as Drew Brees or Aaron Rodgers. So I think the Giants have a very good chance, and at 20-1, man, I want to take those odds. But let's talk about the Vikings. They're also 20-1. I'm definitely not as high on the Vikings. To me, I look at this team, Viking fans will say injuries. I'm sorry, Viking fans. I'm a Viking fan, but let's talk about it for a second. If this offensive line's as bad as it was this year, no way. No way they're a Super Bowl contender. No way, and I hate to say that, but it's the truth. Until I see improvement from this offensive line, I can't talk about this team as a Super Bowl contender, and I won't take those 20-1 odds. As we continue on, the Cardinals, the Ravens, the Colts, they also have 20-1 odds. Cardinals, it wouldn't have to be a Tony Romo trade because I'm sorry, Carson Palmer's best days are well behind him, and I think Tony Romo's might be too, but at the end of the day, I think he's better than Carson Palmer. I don't know. Not a big fan of that. Ravens, yeah, not a big fan of them, especially at 20-1. Colts, it depends on their offseason. It depends on their offseason. If they have a good offseason, bring in some defensive player, maybe an offensive lineman, maybe, then we could be talking differently, but I'm not a big fan of them there. Dolphins at 30-1, not a big fan of them. Buccaneers 30-1. Oh, that's something to at least consider. They have... This is another team that depends on their offseason. I could easily see the Buccaneers winning their division, and it's the NFC, so anything can happen. Then we have the Titans at 40-1. That's one to at least consider. This is another team that really depends on their offseason. It really depends. Because the way the team's structured right now, I just don't see this as a Super Bowl contender. There's a reason they didn't make the playoffs. But if the Colts have a poor offseason, if the Texans have a poor offseason, doesn't matter what the Jaguars do. We could be talking about the Titans as a division winner, and who knows about the Super Bowl. Bengals are also 40-1. Maybe. I'm somewhat tempted with them, but I gotta see a playoff win first. Redskins also 40-1. Yeah, they lost their offensive coordinator. They'd have to have a good offseason. And, as we go along, I don't really want to talk about too many of these other teams. Texans are also 40-1. No, you got to get a quarterback. Eagles 40-1. There's still a lot of work to do on that team. Lions surprisingly 60-1. That's one at 60-1. I feel like that could be a real good deal, but we're talking about a Lions team that just, they are not playoff experienced. They haven't won a game in since the 90s or something. No, it might even be longer. No, it's the 90s. No to the Lions. Saints definitely no at 60-1. Frankly, the rest of these teams, they're just no's. But I look at them. yeah, I'd consider, to me, the top teams, Raiders, Giants, maybe Titans and Buccaneers. Those would probably be my top teams where I'm like, yeah, let's talk about that. Those could be surprise contenders. And to me, the reason I'm saying them is not because I think these are the four best teams right now. No, I'm saying for what you could get for your money, those could be some surprising teams that make the Super Bowl. I don't know if they will, but at those odds, that might be worth at least trying. Because Patriots, yeah, they have a very good shot at winning or going to the Super Bowl. Frankly, winning the Super Bowl too. But uh, the odds, they're greater odds for these teams, and obviously you want more money. I don't know. I don't bet on NFL games. Every year I'm like, oh, I should try it. Maybe next year. I don't know. But yeah, those are just looking at the odds. Thought that'd be fun. Tell me what teams. Hopefully the link's in the description. You can check there and tell me what odds you would take. I'd love to hear that. So leave that in the comments below. If you're new to me, you can follow me on Twitter at AnthonyJamesTV and subscribe to my channel, Anthony James TV. I do NFL draft videos and I'm doing season recaps. You can find those links in the description. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and until next time, this is Anthony. I'm out. See you all later.